Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the Tuya Scaphoid. This is a design collaboration with Skelton Bladeworks. I love his design aesthetics, and this is a wicked looking design. It's a nice full-size EDC knife at 8.05 inches long with a 3.42 inch Tanto blade of CPM S90V steel. You have a super wicked point there, super bulky. Look at that. Nice for piercing, poking, prodding, using that tip to do drag cuts. Love that nice top swedge. Look at all the different facets. You have this top swedge here. You have your flat. You have a compound grind. You got nice jimping up top. I call it moderate traction jimping. That doesn't bother me either way. I'm not a big jimping fan anyway. That compound grind has a nice deep hollow grind right here that comes down nice and thin to around 16 thousandths behind the edge. Then this flat grind is around 20 thousandths behind the edge. So both sections are nice and slicey. Sharpening choil could have been opened up a little bit. You can see how it's already riding up right there. Not the biggest deal. I could either cut a little bit more into it or just go straight up like that, whatever I'd want to do. Nice satin grinds there. You have horizontal on the flats, vertical on the two primary grinds and the swedge, so it just dances on the light. Now let's see how well this thing performs. The straight edge portion of the knife came nice and sharp, and that edge geometry is allowing it to blast through this cardboard, no problem whatsoever. And in this grip and this light duty stuff, it's a-okay, nice and comfortable. And yeah, definitely felt like I could have done this for days. You can get nice long cuts because you got a nice straight edge portion on this one until it goes into that Tanto portion. And like I said, this is something that I enjoy doing with the Tanto. Now we're going to test those ergos. I was kind of worried that that flipper tab was going to be painful, because if you're choked up right up to it, it's not the most comfortable thing. But the way this handle's set up, it's kind of bringing you back a little bit. And for the most part, it was comfortable. I didn't really start to feel it until I really started bearing down into the wood. But I'm not, a Tanto is not going to be my first choice for doing feather sticks, I can promise you that. And the handle scales are nice and contoured. I had no problems there. And my fingers, my medium-sized hands, laid out perfect on the little choils they have in the back portion of this handle. It also allowed me to stay away from that flipper tab. And, you know, like I said, it was pretty darn good. I couldn't get as much power when I was choked back, but it was a-okay. Now, on a flat surface, you can use the tip and the secondary tip, but the front portion, not the secondary tip, the first tip is a little bit harder to get in there to do drag cuts because you got to lift your hand up a lot higher, but that's what's awesome about that secondary tip. All the other stuff on the flat cutting surface, if you're not using that Tanto portion, like you see me doing there, it's doable, but it's not the easiest. It's not the most enjoyable for me. That's why Tanto is not my first choice for an EDC. You can definitely do it, and this one is ground a lot thinner than most Tantos at the Tanto portion, but still, with my beat up hands, I get blistered rather easily. And I wasn't going to even do the sisal rope, but I figured I could try to do it on the block and with that forward portion in that Tanto area. I'm able to do it, and it's not terrible or anything, but I definitely didn't want to do it for long. But once again, this is not the knife I would go to grab to do everyday EDC task, unless it's breaking down boxes or, you know, puncturing into something or doing drag cuts with that secondary tip. And I'm kind of, after doing this knife, I'm kind of debating on whether I'm going to do the sisal rope portion with a Tanto. It's just, like I said, for my hands, it's just not that fun. But we ended up getting through 65 cuts. I mean, I didn't have a big old piece or anything. The S90 felt good. It wasn't the sharpest up there by the Tanto, but it seems like it's always the case. I don't know if they just don't like sharpening all 4 of those bevels that they have to sharpen on with the Tanto. But the secondary point, it was nice and crisp. And right up there by that very tip, it was a good bit sharper than the back portion. Not the biggest deal because I'm going to sharpen it after this video anyway. But like I said, I can do it. Just not for me, it's not that enjoyable. Nothing crazy in the pinch grip. It was nice and comfortable. I was locked in. And yeah, I mean, what more else can you say? It's a Tanto. Or Tanto, or Tanto. How do you say it? Somebody always corrects me in the comments. When it comes to the deployment and action of this knife, this is by far probably one of the best flippers I own now. So you have a well-placed flipper tab sitting above that pivot, so you're going to have a lot of momentum. Once you break that detent, the blade's going to go almost to 90 degrees before it has to take over. And the detent is dialed perfection on this knife. You have jimping on that flipper tab, no thought. This thing rockets out. It's nice and smooth, nice and snappy. It is riding on ceramic ball bearings with a ceramic detent ball, and it is broken in very, very nicely. Let's take a look at this handle area. I find it to be very attractive. I like the inlay work. You got contoured titanium scales. They've softened all these edges. There are no hard edges, no pokey spots anywhere. The inlays are seamless, no high spots, no gaps that I noticed. The carbon fiber has absolutely no voids. It's twill carbon fiber on this one. Your pivots countersunk and flush. And as you can see on this side, you have no hardware showing on this side. So it's nice and clean. No lanyard hole to put an extra hole in the knife. You also have that inlay on the reverse side. I hate it whenever they don't put it on the other side. You have a milled titanium pocket clip that houses a hidden lanyard spot right here. Nicely done. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite pocket clips. Look at the contouring on that pocket clip. You can see that rounding. And they've softened this so well. When I was doing all the cutting, this pocket clip felt really good. They knocked off this point here. Very well done. And you can see the Skelton Bladeworks logo right there on the lock relief. Very, very nice touch. Kept the blade nice and clean besides the Tuya logo on this side. And the blade steel marking on the flipper tab right there. Now, when I first got the knife, put it in my hand and got all the way up right here, I was kind of worried because this flipper tab, the way it's set up, if you come right up on it, it's kind of digging into my finger right there. Now, my hands are pretty beat up, so, take that with a grain of salt. But whenever I went to do the wood carving to test the ergos, I was actually surprised because at first I put my hand up there and it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the most comfortable because of that flipper tab. But the way this handle's set up, if I put my finger here, put that pinky there, I'm kind of sitting back on it. Now, you don't get as much power as if you're choked all the way up, but if I put my thumb up here, I can control that blade pretty well. If I'm in the hammer grip, I can control it fairly well also, and I didn't really have any problems with the flipper tab that way. So that was one way for me to get around it. And like I said, it might not bother your hands. Just look at my hands. I look like a 90-year-old. You do have a hardened stainless steel lock insert right there. And the lockup on my knife is sitting at around 40% or so. No movement up or down, left or right. Very, very tight lockup on this one. And even though this lock is flush with the show side scale, those little chamfers right there are perfect for me to fit my thumb in there. No problem whatsoever. Now, you do have to watch because right there, sometimes I can double clutch because of that flipper tab hitting my fingernail. But if I grab it right there like I usually do with the fat of my thumb, I can get past that. No issues whatsoever. We have a perfectly centered blade. There is no internal milling because you have all the milling for the inlays on both sides, bringing the weight to 3.93 ounces. Quick size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. Spyderco PM2 and Para 3, very similar to the PM2. As you can see, it's a little bit smaller than the Tuya Knives, and it's almost identical in overall length to the Spyderco Smock. Now, for my nitpicks and complaints, these are just nitpicks. Like I said, I wish this would have been opened up a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. I could easily open it up myself if I want to because they have an internal stop pin. I talked about the flipper tab being, somewhat uncomfortable for me if I'm choked up like that. If I wanted to, I could either put it over the top of it and do away with that altogether, or choke back. How this handle's set up, you have this wider section here, and then that pinky sits nice and comfortable there. So very, very minor. Maybe some fine cut jimping there, but I don't really care about jimping, and I don't really find the need for it most of the time. But other than that, I think it's a very attractive design, especially if you like tan toes. I think this is a wicked, wicked looking one. I love Jim's design aesthetics. He's got another really, really cool design in the pipeline that I saw the other day. Can't wait to check it out, or hopefully I can get my hands on it. And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.